All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to 2021 Senior Capstone Projects for Computer Science, especially the computer science side of things. So engineering did it last week, so hopefully you guys got to drop into some of those. So we are going to be doing 4 presentations today. You can see on the screen the 4 different groups. Cube, as Cube short for CubeSat, Pickup Game, What's for Dinner, and Hatchling. So these will be 4 apps that were created using React Native and then various backend technologies. So I'm really excited to kind of let them really showcase what they've done. Many of you guys are familiar with this class and how it works. I see a lot of alumni in the room, so that's a lot of fun. But for those of you who are outsiders, I just wanted to give like a little bit of background about how this whole class works in the senior level experience. So this is actually not just a semester long project, it's actually an entire year long. So as the students go through this course, it's actually a CS470 in the fall, which is more of a design phase, and then CS480 right now in the spring, which is an implementation phase. So we take all of the fall to really just design and really plan it out, and then all of the spring to really build it. And we start way back, so this is like gonna feel like forever ago for those of you who are graduating, way back to the first week of 470. If you remember, what we focused on was this idea of a problem, right? And we said, hey, we don't wanna just kind of create something to create something, we wanna identify a problem, right? So something that's needing to be dealt with or overcome. So everything we do is we really start at that point and we say, hey, we wanna solve problems that are worth solving, right? Do they need to be solved? Are they actually frustrating people? Do people constantly voice frustration? Or do we just think it would be nice to solve? What evidence is there of solving a problem? And then once we have actually identified a problem, we start talking about a solution. And we talk about solutions needing to be impactful, for one, but also sustainable, investable, and scalable. So one thing I love about what we do in this year-long experience is we talk a lot about business up front. So it's not just, hey, let's go and build something and learn the technical aspects of it, but how do we actually analyze our problem solution from a business perspective to understand that, hey, if we spend, what we'll see is you guys spend anywhere around 400 to 500 hours a team on this project just in the spring building it. That's a lot of time to waste, right? So we want to make sure that we have thought through ideas. Are they something that we could actually put out into the real world, and we can get users as a business that could actually sustain itself? So you will see a little bit of that once the teams present. They're going to focus a lot more on the actual design work and what they built. But that was a huge part of 470, was actually talking about, hey, what is our core problem and solution? How can we demonstrate that it's actually sustainable from a business perspective? So these are 5, we have 4 teams of 5, actually we have 1 team of 6. And all year long, they are working in different roles. They're team leaders, draft leaders, presentation leaders, things like that, all communicating back and forth. And then I've been advising all of them. One of the teams, I believe the Cube team's actually been working with Dr. Johansson as well, who's been working with the engineering side of things, because they're actually building aspects of the Cube satellite, and our team on this side is actually building the app to kind of control something like that someday, or at least read the telemetry from it. So one of the things we really focus on in this class is really taking a big picture idea and channeling it down into something that we can actually build. So what you'll see last semester, they started with a number of documents, and they start very high level with this product proposal, where they're just kind of saying, hey, this is what my problem and solution are. It's a 1-page document. And then they dive down a little bit deeper into the product requirements. What should this app do and what should it not do? And then the functional specification document, they actually start to envision what it would look like, how the screens flow from one screen to the next. And then finally in the software design doc, we actually talk about the nuts and bolts. What is our data model behind the scenes? What data structure should I use, and things like that? How do all these things connect together? So typically in a software engineering class, you kind of think we just focus on the software design document. But we really walk through this process of, no, you really got to start at a high level and make sure your idea is solid at a high level before you really waste your time at the low level. And really the whole point of this class, this 470, 480 sequence, is that everything up to this point has been what we would call maybe a programming effort, right? We maybe get assignments and we can sit down and crank them out in a day or two or something like that. So at this point, we now have more of a software engineering effort, right? Where we can't just sit down and build something. We have to think about how we work together as a team. And how I can be working on one piece of a large app and how your partner can be working on another piece of the same app, and then the third person, the fourth person on the team. And so that's why we focus so much on the design elements. And then we also not only focus on the description of our app and kind of designing it, but also the management of it. So we have a software project management plan where you'll see that students basically create a Gantt chart for the entire semester. We follow agile methodologies, so they're doing, they're kind of pulling out tasks from their design documents and creating tasks to do in 2-week sprint cycles. So every 2 weeks they have new sprint cycles. At the end of each sprint, they reflect back on what they were able to accomplish that last sprint cycle, and they update their schedule a little bit for the next sprint cycle. So it kind of gives them these nice little checkpoints to really monitor how their progress is going throughout the semester. So again, all of that to say, you're seeing just the tip of the iceberg of what they've done. You're seeing kind of the beautiful end product, but I wanted to make sure that, you know, if you're just kind of popping in for a few minutes, that you understand just how much work went into this. I always used to laugh when we were doing Zoo Ventures a few years back. I would see some judges come and like, oh, you haven't even built anything yet. Like, why don't you just build it, you know? So often people don't understand. Now, probably most people in this room do have a pretty good understanding, if I had to guess, but not everyone has a good understanding of just how much work goes into a functional app. And I will say my first year teaching this class, I think we kind of just had students just barely getting through kind of having some login screens and some basic things. So we've been able to really apply with the mobile app course over the last few years, really help build those foundations to where I think what you'll see over these next 4 presentations is some really impressive apps that are really nice solutions. So what you are going to see today, just to kind of give you an idea of what they're actually going to be presenting is, and this is not formal, but just kind of the document we're working with, is they're each gonna do just very quickly intro and background about their problem and solution, what it is they're setting out to do. We're gonna give you a few what we call situation slides, which are just gonna show kind of the maybe core functionalities and just an image of their app, of who's going to be using their app and why, and kind of how that meets that solution. And then the core of it will be their actual live demo. So they'll actually be demonstrating their app, walking through it a little bit. They'll talk a little bit about what their full version would look like. So we build what's called a MVP, a minimum viable product, in this class. So the idea is they kind of dream about what this app should be to really solve the problem. But then what we kind of pare it down to what can we actually build that will solve the problem minimally in a semester. So they'll kind of enlighten you a little bit about where they would hope to go. And then finally, a little bit of summary about the project management, all the things that they had to keep track of this semester. And then finally, some of the advice that they would give to next year students in some lessons learned. So, all right, so thank you for listening to me. I know you're not here to listen to me. So what we are going to do is I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to hand it over to our first group, the CubeSat team. So let's give them a round of applause in advance, and we'll excited to hear your guys' presentation.
All right, I guess we'll get started here. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We present to you our project Cube. Imagine beginning a CubeSat program at a local university with the intention of building, launching, and maintaining CubeSats in orbit around Earth. As your team of engineering students assemble the CubeSat, you realize that you have no clue how you're going to transmit the CubeSat data, much less even track its location around the globe. What are you going to do? And this kind of leads into our problems. An individual or an organization can create their own software to maintain the CubeSat. However, it costs time and resources that just might not be available. There also are very few viable software solutions that can transmit and monitor a CubeSat, and the few that can are not really intuitive and are difficult for the average user to navigate. Now, this is where Cube comes in. We're able to track, collect, and transmit your CubeSat data and location to our mobile application, allowing you to monitor it from anywhere. Our intuitive notification system allows users to be alerted of any potential outliers your CubeSat may face.
All right, so now we're going to go ahead and share from my mobile device and demo of our application. Hopefully this goes well. Zoom is pretty intensive on the phone and may cause some issues. All right, so here you can see our starting page, and I'm going to go ahead and sign in real quick. Uh-oh. 1 second, I'm going to stop sharing because I can't access the symbols button with Zoom. I apologize for that inconvenience. And now I can go ahead and screen share again, reopen the app, and now I can type in my password and sign in. All right, so here you can see our compact telemetry screen. Here, users can tap on different objects and they will expand to show a graph displaying the most recent telemetry of that item. We have a usability feature available here that allows users to reorganize them, to sort them by what data is most important to their role at the top of their screen. Clicking on this gear in the top left corner, we can go over to the workspace settings screen where we have a reset settings button as well as this export to CSV. This will allow users to export the telemetry into a CSV file and send it to the email that is attached to the account they are signed in on. We also have this switch that allows users to change how they want to view the telemetry on their home screen. If we go ahead and switch that and go back over, you'll see that we're now in our expanded view. You can still click these buttons to view telemetry. However, this has a feature of grouping. If we tap on this edit button, we can edit this group, and let's add in a new bit of telemetry. So if we go ahead and type in RX temperature and hit confirm, now you'll see it was removed from the list down here. It was the first one. And if we tap on it here, we can now view it from the group that we created. All right, moving over, we have a proof of concept for our Cartesian map. Currently, we don't have access to a satellite. Oh, would you look at that? We just got a push notification warning that something's gone wrong with our satellite. We'll get to that in a bit. Also, Zoom has, oh, there we go. If you tap on your satellite, you're able to navigate to different screens from it. So if we go to telemetry, we can now go to a different proof of concept we have for seeing where your satellite is around the Earth, and that is our 3D orbit view. Here you can get a better reference for where around the globe your satellite may be at any given time. Again, this is just a proof of concept as of now. That's why it's moving so fast. So let's go check out that notification that we just had happen. So if we type in, I believe it was the PSU unit, and you can see we have a notification that warns us that the PSU unit just failed on the satellite that we're checking. You can tap on that to view more information, such as the time. Let's go and click this edit button in the top left corner to see the different parameters that can trigger alerts. And you'll see there that second parameter is to check if we have a PSU unit failure. You can also create new alert parameters, such as RSSI. And let's say when the RSSI is equal to the value of 50, I don't know why it's not letting me tap 0. You can say the alert, uh-oh, or whatever specific information you want. You can save that and it will be uploaded to the database. And the next time that the satellite transmits information, If that value is, or if that parameter is passed, it will send you an alert notification immediately. Moving on to our final key feature, we have the user permissions, which allows admins to see the different users that have access to their application, to go into the users and to edit them, perhaps give them a promotion to something like admin. And then they're able to click this button on the top left to add new users by simply providing the key information of the first name, last name, the email, passwords, and whatever role you want that user to be assigned to. That basically covers everything that is essential to the Cube app that we have done over this semester. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. So we took a look at our MVP. Now we'd like to present a little bit of what we have in store for the future. First, we plan on having live data display. Now what this means is multiple CubeSats per company. Each company can have as many CubeSats as they would like, each with their own specific purposes. And live data will be available from each of these satellites. Each of these satellites will be easily seen from the Cartesian map or the 3D orbit view, as we saw Mark demonstrate. And it will be easy to navigate from one satellite to the next, so you can ensure which satellite you are viewing data from. Moving on, we can see our second point being satellite control, where we plan on offering an easy-to-view control GUI for the user. We are long past the point where a user will need to use console commands to control their satellite. It will now be provided in a simple GUI that you can control from your phone. Now, these controls will vary depending upon the functionality of the satellite. Some satellites will have solar panels that can be opened or closed. Some satellites will have rotation ability, and this screen will compensate for those specific satellites.
Awesome, Josh. Thank you so much. Well, now that we've looked at the future of the project, let's go ahead and take a look at the past, starting with our Gantt chart. As you can see, here is our complete Gantt chart. We've totaled out to about 425.9 hours. Back end, surprisingly, only took about a third, whereas front end took about 2/3. If we were to divide this cost into a real project per se, at about 25 bucks an hour, it'd be about $10,648. About 40 an hour would be $17,036, and 50 an hour would be about $21,295. And next, let's go ahead and distribute the back and front end tasks in a breakdown. So back end took about 157 hours, and the longest task was setting up Firebase and getting everyone's accounts working and making sure that everyone's repo had access to the Google Cloud platform. Software as a service is relatively new concept to us as young developers, and it was really fun and interesting to figure out certain nuances to how to get certain things to work. Our front end took about a whopping of 268 hours. The longest task was getting push notifications to work properly. It required a lot of collaboration and coordination with backend and certain interesting dependencies that were required that sort of caused some issues. But in the end, we got it worked out. Additionally, in front end, we actually had some components that we developed ourselves that you saw with certain pop-ups and alert parameters and things like that. And the last key breakdown I would like to emphasize is we did a lot of rewriting and resolving our code. It took about 45.49 hours because essentially we had to fix past implementations in order to improve present functionality. Following all of this, next is dealing with unpredictable events. One of the key ones that we dealt with was Git security and Git protocols. I really would like to emphasize that we had to work on being aware of potential vulnerabilities. Those vulnerabilities included leaving things out of our Git ignore file throughout the lifespan of our implementation process. We had to reset our API key a few times. Our outdated documentation, not our outdated documentation, but GCP in certain specific aspects of Node packages that we had used since we were using React Native, we found there were a few issues with that. And in the same vein,
the repo updates that sometimes were required or that we had to avoid caused a lot of problems, because discrepancies in those dependencies can cause some serious confusion throughout all of the different repos in our Git project.
Awesome. Thank you, Nate. So we recognize that groups in the future are going to continue developing projects such as ours. So as we close out our presentation today, we want to talk about a few things that we wish we knew going into it. So first, let me offer some general advice. Put the work in early on. You'll thank yourself later. Don't save it all for the end. Second, work on finding a solution to issues instead of focusing on the cause of the problem, because it's inevitable that things are bound to go wrong. So be ready when they do. Third, don't wait to be told to do something. Look for ways to contribute and lift your load for the group. This is an important skill for working on any team. And finally, we find it useful to have different team members specialized to specific parts of the project. For example, we had somebody on front end, somebody on back end, and somebody doing GitHub management. Next, I want to move into some general communication tips. And the first rule here that I found most important was to communicate. And then when you think you're done communicating, communicate even more, because in general, it's always better to over communicate than rather to under. A few ways that we found we were successfully able to do so were through the platforms Discord, Slack, and TeamCant, especially on a virtual semester. And finally, when it comes to communication, we found a really practical tip is to assign somebody to be responsible for final submissions. So that way they can coordinate with team members to make sure they all have their parts in on time and know what they need to do. And the last advice that I'd like to offer is in regards to a few tools that we found helpful during the development process. First being source control, which is a part of Visual Studio Code that's really well integrated with GitHub. It allows you to do push, pull, commits, checkouts, and merges through a really easy to understand UI. And finally, the live share extension in Visual Studio Code is great too, because it allows multiple team members to work on the same file at once, and you don't have to worry about merge conflictions. So with all that being said, it has of course been our pleasure to present the Cube app to you. Thank you very much.
All right, let's give them a round of applause. Okay, so I have been asking questions for the last year, so I don't actually have any questions for them, but I want to open it up for anyone. If you're from IMT just visiting, if you're a family member, a friend, a professor, a student who's not in this class especially, I really invite you guys to ask any questions, whether it's understanding what they've done, how they did what they did, or anything like that. I want to open it up for a few questions. So let's feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
Well, this is Professor Johansson. I want to say, first of all, it's been a real privilege working with you guys. You guys did an amazing job. I'm really impressed. Not only that, but we really want to be using what you have created as we're going forward. We've had a number of conversations, and I was real grateful to have that. Sorry, my camera's not working right now, so otherwise I'd share that way. But just wanted to share my heartfelt thanks that they're making it now so we can process live data, not only live data, but eventually an APU CubeSat is really a path that with what you're doing, we have a nice visual that we can start to share with the kind of stuff that we can be doing. So thank you.
Great.
Yeah, we just like to take a second too to thank you, Dr. Johansson, especially last semester. You spent countless hours advising us, and we really wouldn't be here without your help and expertise. So thank you very much. We appreciate it greatly.
Yeah, this is James. I'm the engineering professor doing the engineering on the CubeSat. This is really great progress I see you guys are making, and I really hope to be able to integrate your software into especially our communications system in the coming year. That's a great presentation. Good job, guys.
It means a lot from you, Dr. Ye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other questions?
Or congratulatory remarks?
I have something. This is Montrell. I'm a I'm an APU alum or dropout, depends on if you ask who you ask. I just want to say I think it's cool that you guys did something nerdy, and that you did something that is super high level. We don't always see that, like people doing something that's really, really ambitious. Not that any other project is like boring or anything, but I think it's cool that you guys went out of your way to do something that is actually like complex on top of complex that obviously not everybody in the room will understand. I definitely don't. But yeah, I think you guys did a pretty good job of explaining something that most normal people probably wouldn't even imagine exists. So yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you,
so
Montreal.
much.
Good
Thanks
to
a lot.
see you too. Any other comments, questions, feedback?
Great job, guys. I'm very proud of you.
Thanks, Belle.
All right. Well, thank you. And yeah, like some have mentioned, this is actually our first project that we've done that's kind of been collaborating with the engineering side of things, as their senior design projects are kind of in line with this. And they've been somewhat siloed at this point, but they've been talking to one another in such a way that when the time is right, we can actually bring their hardware together with this software that's being developed. So I think that's a cool first for our department to kind of see that crossing. We've crossed into the graphics department, into the business. We actually haven't crossed the short divide into engineering yet. So we've finally done that. So it's exciting to see. So let's give them one more round of applause and then we'll welcome up group two. So good job, team one. All right, so team two, the next presentation will be from Pickup Game.
This first part here, can I direct your attention to my little square and then we'll get started. Alrighty. Well, today is a perfect day outside for a pickup game, but none of my friends really want to go out and play, and I don't really want to be alone at the park shooting hoops by myself. So this seems to be a problem. Many casual athletes don't have others to go out and play pickup games with, so instead they'll feel lonely for not having anyone to participate in sports with them, and they won't go out and play the sports that they love. Our solution is the Pickup Game app. The Pickup Game app provides an easy-to-use solution. Our core features are to create and join pickup games with ease, to communicate with one another, and to be able to look around your local area to find pickup games to participate in. Through using this app, I can now go out and compete with other casual athletes in my area and look for fun pickup games to play, while I can make new friends potentially in the process.
So, if a casual athlete wants to play a sport with others, they can go and create a pickup game with information like location, date, and time specified, along with the number of players. After you create the game, you can review the details and see who's joined. Other casual athletes are also going to want to join the posted games, so they can go check out our homepage for some recommended games. Personally, I'm going to suggest to go explore our map in order to find the closest games nearby. Both the homepage and the map let them choose which sport to play through a filter. All you have to do is select the game, make sure the date and time work for you, and then click join. After you've joined a game, you can go to your My Games page to view it, along with a list of games you've joined in the past or any other upcoming games you've joined. If you go to your profile page, you can also see a smaller view of your upcoming games there.
Wow, this seems like an awesome app. So, what is the quickest way for me to join a pickup game?
Okay, Dylan, so this is our app, and assuming that you already have an account and that you're logged in, the fastest way you can join the game is that if you use the bottom tab navigator and then you just press on the map. In here, you can see all the different games in your area. So in case you want to play basketball, for example, you can just select the sport. And once you're satisfied, press done, and you'll see all the different basketball games. So when you want to join a game, you just press on the icon and you can RSVP if you like the details of the game, if you like the date and the time, and then you can just press join. And just like that, you join the game.
That's awesome. Is there any other ways that I could join pickup games?
Yeah, so another way to do it is if you navigate to home. If you navigate back to the home page, you can view the popular games here. These are the games that just have a lot of players that joined and are promoted by premium members. And then you can filter by sport here. You can choose any sport you like. For example, you can choose volleyball, and then you can press on it and you'll see the same screen, which will allow you to join the game.
Wow. So what if I don't like the game options that I'm seeing and I want to play like spike ball or something like that instead?
Well, what you can do is that you can just create your own. So from here, you can navigate to create game, and then you can enter your information. So if there is a sport that we don't have offered, for example, if you wanted to play spike ball, you can just choose unconventional sports. So you would type your sport in the title instead, and then you will enter your address. So for example, Malibu, and then you choose the maximum number of players, you pick the game date, you choose the start time, for example, 10 a.m., and then you press review. So once you press review, you can see all the details of the game. If you like them, you can just post it. You can also adjust this pin on the map to make the location more precise. And then if you're happy, you can post the game and the game will show up under My Games. So if I refresh this page can be accessed from the bottom tab navigator as well. So here I can see all of the joined and upcoming games. So the games that I've created are here and the games that I've joined. So this is the game that I just created, the spike ball game. Here you can see all the details. You can edit the game as a host. And then you can also see other games such as this one, where I can enter the chat room for each game, and then I can ask people anything I want to know. For example, I texted in the group chat asking where do I park. I can ask Azaria right now, who's also logged into the app, to send me a text or just to show the demo, for example, how it will look like. So this is how it will work. And then finally, what I wanted to show you is that you can go to the profile here and you can see your username, your bio. You can edit your bio here, for example, like this. And then you can see your upcoming games here on this page as well. And cool thing what we have is that we have free members who are actually limited to only creating 2 games and joining 2 games. But if you buy our unlimited, or if you buy our premium membership, you can have unlimited games. So to view your premium plan or buy a new one, you can just click here and it should take you to the screen where you can purchase your monthly plan. You can add your card information, or you can use this settings icon here, and then you can edit your payment information. And then finally, you can just log out from this page, or you can log out from the home page. So what I showed you so far, Dylan, I quickly solved your problem by if you wanted to join a game, you can just navigate to the map and just press on any game you like. You can even search by location. For example, if I type in Santa Monica, it should take me to Santa Monica and it should tell me all the games there. For example, if I want to play beach volleyball, let me see, there is one game showing up there. And then what I also showed you is on the homepage, you can join games from there as well. You can join the popular games, or you can select any sport you like, and then you can view those games and then press there. And then finally, you can create your own game, like I said, where you enter all information. You can view your games on this page, all the games that you joined and they're upcoming. You can view your game history if you want to recreate any of the games again, and then you can view your profile. And just if you guys wanted to see if the register screen, I can log out and show you how we would do that. You can log in using this page. Of course, we have an option if you forgot your password, it will send you an email to reset it. And then you can use the 3-step process to register your name, username, and password and email. So once you're happy, you can just log in like that, or you can just log in with Facebook as well. So if I press here, it should log me in, and it says I'm logged in.
So we were able to show all of the beautiful features that we have created, such as the map, homepage, join pickup game, create game, review game, my games, game info, chat room, profile, buy premium and add cards, settings screen, and the login. Now let's discuss why these screens were set up the way they were. Our overall goal was to create simple paths to the different features of the app that can be done by any user. And we wanted to not have a limited audience and just be open to all audiences and make it easy for anyone. Now, being that our main purpose of the app is to join and create games, we want to make it as convenient and simple as possible. And we also researched other social media applications, their designs and their pathways to give users a great experience and apply it to our application as well.
So as for what's next, we will have 2 full releases. The first full release will be adding notifications for users for upcoming games. The next will be allowing users to actually buy premium memberships. The next will be implementing statistics and leaderboards, which has like badges and stars and rewards for premium members. Another one would be offering suggested games to users based on their past history, and then also implementing a Google sign-in for a sign-in method. For the full release 2.0, this will be more advanced. We'll be adding tournaments for users and allowing them to purchase referees and coaches, which will be paid through the app. This is for tournaments or just local events people want to host. And also the implementation of food trucks, which is beneficial for food trucks because they get more customers, and then the users from our app can have food to eat. And then also creating a light and dark theme for users to switch between while they're using our app.
Now I'm going to discuss the project management side of our project, including the hours spent, work distribution, and reflect on our team Gantt chart. So we had an estimated hours of 539, and we actually worked 528 of those hours. And say, for instance, we were to charge $25 an hour, we would have made $13,200, $40 an hour, $21,120, and $50 an hour, $26,400. And that would be over, of course, for each sprint, we did 12 hours every 2 weeks. So that would be over the course of the 8 sprints that we worked. Now here is the work distribution. We did 55% on back end, 20% on front end, 19% on QA, 5% on styling, and 1% on other, which included research, GitHub, and Jira. And it's pretty low due to the fact that we did most of that in the first semester, getting everything set up with GitHub, putting together our tasks on Jira, and also researching things that we can do for the app. Now here's a rough breakdown of our team Gantt chart, and it includes the 8 different sprints over the course of this past semester. Now I'm going to go over some of our reflections after looking at the chart. So our final Gantt chart is different from the original. Over time, we were able to realize what things were really necessary for the MVP and what things could be pushed off to our 2.0. And the game data actually ended up needing a lot more time than we had originally envisioned, and backend became a very heavy part of our project. Now, what are some things we would have done differently? We would have researched Pure React over Expo and determined which one would have been more suitable for our app. And we would have thought about using notifications earlier on for game info.
All right, so some of our major takeaways from this project. 1, finishing the general design and shells of the screen early on saved a ton of time and really helped the design process. Also, breaking up tasks based on who's interested in what was really useful, and it let people work with what they wanted to. Additionally, Jira, Slack, text, all those different communication platforms were absolutely key, especially since we're remote. So that was also something that was very important.
And some advice to anybody who wants to either create an app or will be taking this course later on is to definitely take the mobile app class before this, or a mobile app class. It was extremely helpful in everything that we did, whether it was setting it up and creating all the screens and understanding the programming language and how everything worked. The next thing is meeting up with your team as much as possible, including outside of class, especially outside of class, because this allows you to understand what everybody's going through, what issues they're facing, and allowing everybody to assist one another in an extremely efficient fashion. The next thing is that everybody needs to understand how to run the app. If somebody doesn't know how to run the app, then that's just kind of like a broken leg to a chair. You're going to be kind of falling behind a little bit because that person won't be able to test what they're running and their code might not work correctly. Then next I'd say is listen to your mentor's advice. We listened to a lot of our mentor's advice, and everything that he pretty much gave to us was pretty much like implemented in some way. And him being in the industry really assisted us a lot throughout our project. And then to start early on the tasks that we know least about and research the packages that you're planning to use and to make sure they are compatible. There was probably a good amount of time at the beginning of our project that we wasted on some packages that weren't compatible, both trying to implement them and use them and kind of force it, which obviously allowed us in the long run not be able to do as much or kind of slow us down a little bit. And then to make the important decisions quickly. The quicker you make these important decisions in regards to your application, the better off you will be in the long run throughout all of the sprints, just because it'll help out a lot because you'll be able to know what you need to work on and when you need to have it pretty much done by. So that way you could work on everything slowly but surely and get everything done the way you want. So this is pictures of all of us, the team that worked on the pickup game app. I thank you for your guys' time to listen to our presentation, and we hope to see you guys out there playing pickup games using our application pretty soon. Thank you.
All right, let's give them a round of applause. Very well done. All right, so open it up for a few minutes of questions and comments or feedback.
I thought it was a pretty cool
Quick
idea.
question.
So first of all, congratulations on what you guys have developed. And it sounds like you're going to make this available on GitHub that people can download it and maybe pick up and where you left off on this wonderful app.
Yeah, so our hope is to probably continue this over here on the summer and hope to eventually get it onto the App Store as quickly as we possibly can. I know just from personally talking to a few other athletes, both like football at the school and other places, and they would love to actually be able to use this app because they go out and shoot hoops by themselves all the time or play other sports and they don't really have people to play with, and they'd love to be able to get involved with people playing pickup games.
Quick question. You showed that part of your time, a very small part of your time was spent on QA, which I read as quality assurance. What did you actually do there?
So a lot of that was one, checking for any bug fixes that we might have and trying to act as the user to pretty much make an attempt to break things. Because I know from a developer standpoint, we're not always thinking exactly what kind of ways can the user cause bugs or cause certain things to break. So pretty much a lot of that time was taken like going through each feature that we created, seeing what ways it could actually cause issues, break, or do something that's a little bit abnormal that we weren't expecting it to do. And that way we could try to fix it before we even get it to a release point or completing our sprints. So that way later down the line, when we do release it, we won't have to worry as much on those features that we've done our quality assurance on. And we found a good amount of the bugs that could cause things to break that users might be able to find.
And another thing I want to mention is that we use Jira to report those bugs. So Azaria and I were writing tickets, and then we would drag the ticket to the column and assign it to each person on the team to manage the project better.
Okay, good.
So I have a quick question. You mentioned you're wanting to actually put this on the App Store. Are you just planning an iOS release, or are you planning an Android release as well? Because several of your functionalities that I saw throughout your application are actually not compatible with Android as it stands. So what's your guys' plan there?
Yeah, so the first thing that we discussed as we kind of got near to the end of the project, because over time, a lot of things do get deprecated, especially using Expo. We plan to switch it over to like more of a pure React Native application, and we'd be implementing the Android packages that would be compatible individually. Same thing with iOS, and then pretty much like restructuring the app from there. So that way it will be able to have a smooth Android and iOS release when we do put it up for the app stores.
Okay, so ejection. All right, I was just curious.
Really cool app. I did have a question. Let's say I want to play a pickup game and I want my friends to know about the pickup game, but if they don't know about it, then I'd like it to be open. Do you guys plan on implementing like a private game function, or do you plan on implementing a way to send out an invite to people for the games?
Yeah, so in the future, we will be able to like make it so that way you could add friends to your profile, so that way you could be able to be linked with them. We could add the option to notify all of your local friends first when the app is posted before it's public, so that way they have the opportunity to join. We could also add a privacy and public feature, so that way you could leave it private until your friends have joined the pickup game, and then you could switch it over to public, so that way the rest of the community can see, and so on and so forth. And you could also message in between your friends to just say, hey, I posted a pickup game, quickly join it. So that way we could all join up at the park and play as well. And you could have those slots reserved for your friends.
I have a question or a statement. I don't know. Dylan, I know you're an athlete. I'm a little bit of bias towards you, but how important was it for you guys to like how personal was this project for you guys? Because I know like a lot of times like we see problems, we want to fix problems, but this is a very like specific thing that I imagine, like you said earlier, like athletes would want to know about. So how much of like personal experience, personal like drive was involved in this project?
Yes.
I'll hop.
Oh, yeah, go Dallas. No, you go, Dallas. I've spoken a lot.
All right. I'll pop in. So this is actually a very personal project to each of us on the group. Dylan, as you know, plays football. Mina is actually also on the APU volleyball team. We have Azaria on the APU softball team. We have Du Bois. He enjoys playing tennis, and I personally love playing basketball. So we are all personally invested in the app to the like it's an app we would use for our friends, if that makes sense. So it's not just like for people out there, it's also for like our own usage. And so we're hoping to get some enjoyment out of it as well.
That's cool. How much is COVID pushed back against this idea, considering we can't really get together and play sports?
Yeah, so that's something we definitely discussed, especially when we were doing the business stages of the project. We knew, one, that it would take time for us to obviously complete it. So we were giving a good amount of time for some of the COVID situation to kind of clear up, as vaccinations have now gotten pretty widely spread and things are starting to now open up at 100% capacity. Alongside that, we do feel that since a lot of people have been stuck inside and not able to do this, if we release it at the perfect time with COVID now starting to clear up, this could have a very high potential of getting a lot of people wanting to go out and play sports again with other people and getting that like exercise and experience again that they've been missing over the past few months or a year actually, with like parks being closed and obviously all the social distancing and all of like the different effects that COVID has had on our world. So we're hoping that this can now provide an opportunity for people to link up again and start making games as COVID is still kind of winding down here with all the different vaccinations and things opening up to 100% capacity now.
Any last questions or comments? All right. So yeah, I would really encourage you guys to try and find a way to release this, even if only on one platform to start off with. I think in a lot of the reasons I say I think it's a really cool idea, but I also think it's pretty much ready to be. I mean, you maybe 95% there. There's probably a little bit stuff that, we kind of glossed over in the presentation that needs to be finalized before it would be like functional. But I think as a minimum viable product, I think it works. You have the basics there. And I know from the very beginning, you guys had a pretty big umbrella of like what you want to do with bringing in recruiting from coaches and things like that, and the food trucks for revenue and things like that. And I think that you could all go down that route. But even as it is, you may get a lot of people that actually just want to use this app. And the more people are on it, like the more opportunity you guys can find to, blow it up as a business, so to speak. So yeah, really great job. Let's give them a round of applause and we'll move to team 3. All right, so team 3, what's for dinner?
Max, are you ready?
Yes, give me just one moment here.
All is well.
Alrighty, is everyone able to see the presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty, so we are the What's for Dinner group. I'm going to be joined by Alexis, Jake, Isaiah, Brandon, and then myself. We're going to go ahead.
Wait, one moment real quick. Max, you're on the wrong slides. One moment. Can you stop sharing your screen? I'll send you the link right now.
And then just make sure you hit the present so we can see it full screen.
Alrighty, here we go. Now we are on the correct slide. So once again, I'm Max. This is the What's for Dinner app, and I'm joined once again by Alexis, Jake, Isaiah, and Brandon.
Awesome. So why this app? Let me paint the scene for you. It's summertime and Irene, a mom of 2 college students, is finally having her babies return home. Only issue is they all have different schedules and keep on forgetting who is home, what day, and the like. One day, Irene makes a full breakfast platter for the 3 of them, only to find out both have their own plans for brunch. The next day, her daughter brings home pizza for everyone, but Irene and her son are already eating ramen. After a week of overestimating food portions and a fridge overwhelmed by untouched leftovers, Irene makes a small dinner for herself, only to have her hungry kids come to the table asking about food. No one has time or money for food waste. Luckily, they can use our app to avoid miscommunication. With our app, she's able to see a list of her kids' favorite recipes and no longer has to hassle over planning and portion guessing.
So along with our app, one of the situations we ran into is that we have to take into consideration food allergies. So obviously once you, before or after you create your profile, you can go into the profile screen. And what you can do is you can edit your allergies and input what you are allergic to. And from there, any meal plan that you are a part of, anyone can tap on your profile and see what you're allergic to and take in your needs for consideration.
Here is our meal history screen. So let's say you want to surprise your wife and kids with a nice meal, right? But you don't know what meal they would appreciate. So the meal history lets you see all the meals and the average rating as well as the recipe.
Alrighty, and now we're going to move into a demo portion of the app. So I'm going to go ahead and swap over to the actual application now, and I'm going to pass it on over to Jake.
All right, thank you so much, Max. So we wanted to define our problem under the term meal coordination instead of meal planning, because many applications focus on meal planning for individual use or focus on the food itself. Our app is not about meal prep. It's about scheduling and organizing meals. No solution exists yet to aid in meal planning for a group of people. So that's meal coordination. It is all the steps involved in arranging meals in a group setting. So we decided to define what those groups are called, and we decided to name them meal pods, which is basically any group of people involved with the meal planning. So this could be a family, or if a neighborhood has any monthly BBQs, any group of people could view this meal pod and they could look forward to enjoying it together. And inside of these meal pods, you can have meal plans, which are basically the details of when, what, and where, and who, kind of details about the meal that you'll be sharing together. So without further ado, let's go ahead and create our own pod. So suppose I am a father and I want to create a family meal pod so that I can let my kids know, my adult kids know what we're going to have for dinner this week. So I'll send this message to them and I'll go ahead and save the pod. Already, it's listed on our calendar, so we can go ahead and tap into it. And we can add members, family members to this meal pod. So let's go ahead and let's add a family member. Let's just do a Gax and add them. We can see that they've been added. And now the next step is to just create a meal plan. So we'll go ahead and we'll say spaghetti, since that is a very family-like dinner, and I'll just paste in the recipe. We'll set it to just some time in the future in this week. We'll go ahead and save that, and already our meal plan shows up. If I tap into the meal plan, there's even a feature that allows me to RSVP to the meal plan. Since I know, since I made the plan and I know I'm going, I'll go ahead and tap this button, navigate back, and you can see that one person is at least attending this meal plan. If the meal plan has been shared already and has passed, it will show up in our meal history. So if I scroll down here, there at the bottom is spaghetti, and we can view it in history and view how popular it is among the group.
Thank you, Jake. And so now moving into a different section, I'm going to go a bit more in depth when it comes to this demo, and I'm going to go ahead and actually show you some of the extra functionality that we've gone ahead and tied into some of our screens. So once again, you saw that Jake was actually able to add a member in once our pod was created, but you'll see that we also included this like flat list, searchable list when you're actually creating the pod itself. So if you have a few members in mind that you'd like to add from the very beginning when you're creating your meal pod, you have the ability to do so. And something that's actually really neat when it comes to the meal pod itself is we included those specific profiles tied to individual users. So you see here, if I'm, for example, want to view Brandon, I'm able to click and make sure that this is the correct person that I want to add, as well as see some of their critical information, and then I go ahead and add them to my meal pod. Also, some extra functionality that we kind of wanted to include into our app that kind of wraps around the whole idea of meal coordination is the idea of creating a meal plans, but having that recipe section be really anything that the admin wants to let their users know. So for example, say I want to create a new meal plan here, and maybe this coming week I want to do takeout. We're not going to have a specific recipe for that meal, but I'm able to let the users know, okay, maybe Justin's picking up takeout, for example. And so I'm able to just, as the admin, let users know any extra information that I want them to know. So you'll see our meal plan was created. and you'll see it pop up under the family members meal pod. Alrighty here. And then if I go ahead and we have a little bit more functionality tied in into our meal history. So like Jake mentioned, when meals do pass by, say, for example, we had pork ramen a couple weeks ago in the past, and we want to be able to let the admin know how we feel about a specific meal. So you'll see up top, we have a rating of 2 pork, and maybe I felt that it deserves a 5-star rating. So if I go ahead and give it a 5-star rating, you'll see ramen's actually going to update, and we actually now able to give the admin the ability to see an average rating overall. And so that can kind of better prepare them for meals in the future, or however they may want to plan out meals for that specific meal pod based on how users may have felt about them in the past. So kind of summarize here, the calendar is kind of our main hub. So when users sign in, they're going to be brought to this calendar screen. And from here, they're kind of able to go in any which direction that they choose. They can create a meal pod if they want to start their own. They're able to see all of the meal pods they're a part of. So for example, Buddies, the college ministry, those are specific meal pods that I'm tied to, as well as upcoming meals. So we're able to see all that information on one central screen. It's kind of like our main hub, and it kind of contains all of like all the collaborative tools that help our users do what they need to do in order to be a part of that simple meal collect process. So thank you. This is it for the demo, and I'm going to go ahead and move back to the presentation slides now.
Awesome. And so even though our app is amazing as it is, some of the features that we thought we could improve on were including a precise filtering for adding members through the email, and having it so instead of seeing all the members available within the database, you're only seeing people who you've added within groups of yours. Also adding diverse permissions for members, and so then some people can edit apps and others cannot. A third thing we were considering to improve on was creating notifications for pods. So if a plan's change, you can either get an email notification or see previous versions, so then you can know what has changed. Also, most importantly, allergy commonality detection. Allergies are very important, and not specifically within like family groups, but say you're doing a youth group meal pod, it's really important to know what people are allergic to or not. And for our full application, for the features we want to include are in-app texting, so then we can centralize communication about meals, and then you don't have to scroll through your text, try and figure out when people are available, and also assisting in meal selection. So at some point, we're expecting it to be able to suggest meals based on the ratings and who is available at what time. Also, automated event scheduling in the same concept of somewhat assisted meal selection. And lastly, we want to connect it to external applications.
All right, so the total number of hours invested in this app was about 450 hours. Now, if we were charging $25 an hour, the total cost of the project would be about $11,250. If we were charging $40 an hour, the total cost of the project would be about $18,000. And if we were charging $50 an hour, the total cost would be about $22,500. Okay, so taking a brief look at the percentages of work focus, 31% of the work on this application was spent on the front end, 6% was on setting up, 53% was on the back end, and finally 10% was on research. As you can see on the right-hand side, we have our Gantt chart. Taking a look at this Gantt chart, there were definitely some interesting observations. For example, there was a lot more backend than originally planned. In addition to this, we underestimated how many hours this application would take to work on. Multiple tasks were modified and added throughout the sprints. Before long, we also realized how much of a key component research and setting up were in developing this app.
So for some insight gained over the process of implementation process, we learned that communication obviously amongst group members is very important. With the communication, it's also important to ask each other for help or just questions in general, because it's always good to bring a different perspective on any problem coding challenges that one may have. Another thing to do, like Isaiah said, was to overestimate time needed. And another one is to finish ahead of time, right? To give yourself more time than expected. And then the last thing is to encourage one another, just keep pushing, because I think with COVID and just in general, coding is such an individual task. It's good to encourage one another to push through. So some advice that we learned was, I think personally taking CS440 will give you the upper hand for the implementation process, given that we used React Native. It's also important to meet outside of class, not just during class. It's also important to make important decisions ASAP. That way you have less problems going through in the future. You should work on parts that interest you, not ones that bore you. And then another thing with a group is that you should build something that you want, something that piques your interest. And the last piece of advice we have is to be patient with one another.
This is our application. Thank you for listening.
All right. Thank you, Team 3. All right. So let's open it up for a few questions and comments.
I have 2 questions if that's okay, or if you would just like one, I can go with that.
As many as you want.
All right. So my first question goes back to something you mentioned, Jake, of you guys want to go with calling this a meal. What was it? Meal.
A meal.
Meal.
Oh, a meal pod.
No. To meal coordination. Thank you, Gax.
Yeah.
Instead of meal planning. However, I guess both of my questions are kind of the same. Previously, you guys mentioned you wanted to have them able to create a shopping list out of their plans, but that was nowhere mentioned in your guys' presentation today. Is that something you're still considering for a 2.0 release? Because then that allows you to compete with all of the meal planning apps. You guys allow for coordination and planning, and it gives you more of a foothold in this market. And I'm just wondering, is that something you guys have planned?
So that is something we would like to add to our app, because there's just a lot of coordinating tools. Like for our application, coordination comes before planning. Obviously both are important, but we believe that the tools for coordinating are what's important with our app, and it's what makes our app unique. So we still listed, I think, for about most of those feature improvements and full release features that we mentioned in that slide, most of those revolved around coordination. So so we would actually love to add something like that to our app. It didn't come up for any full release 1.0, but we would definitely want to focus on it for a 2.0 type of feature, I think.
All right, thank you.
I could see this having a life as a standalone application and also as an augmentation to, say, social media. I'm sure that Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, would actually think this would be really cool. You guys also were talking about applications for families, for youth groups, various kind of spontaneous ways of connecting. And you could have meals, you could have tea time, you could have all kinds of different things that it could start to go. And I'd be interested to see where it would actually gain that traction. So I do hope that you do consider making it available in App Store and other possibilities, and see where it might go.
Yeah, as I said, from our research on similar applications, we couldn't find any sort of app that had this kind of focus, or that focused on this kind of problem and tried to solve it that way. So yeah, I think it does have a lot of potential. And if we were to continue it after this semester, think we would definitely want to switch like front end platforms because we have learned like with React Native, it is like state of the art new type of way of mobile app design. So it's pretty hard to maintain because a lot of things become deprecated very fast. So we would want to change that kind of plan.
I have a question. So earlier at the beginning of the project, am I getting feedback? Is that me? So bad. I'm sorry. Earlier in the presentation, I think at the beginning, you guys mentioned like a single mother trying to figure out how to plan meals around her kids. And then I think later you mentioned that your target were college students. So I was curious to see how you guys went from the initial idea or inciting incident being a small family to wanting to focus more on college kids.
It's actually, the app works at both. And so we weren't changing our direction. We just wanted to show how our app could benefit both groups. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I also have one more question. Could you possibly clone this into a different problem one day? Like not just meal, but maybe like group collaboration tools? Sometimes stuff like Trello and all that other stuff is like way too complicated. But like just getting a group project done, this would actually be really, really helpful. And this is just coming from somebody who works on group projects every week. So yeah.
Yes, it would be really easy to get our code and transfer it, especially because most of our app is backend.
Cool.
Any other questions, comments? I always say, Jake, nice job on the question answering. I think one thing you did particularly well there that you may or may not have realized is when someone asks you to add functionalities or features, you can always say yes, but I like one thing that you did is that you circled back on the value that you were adding, the unique value that your app has, and says, yes, we could do that, but this is actually what we're focusing on as our core problem that we're solving. So that was a really nice way to answer that question, I think, especially as people are kind of always wanting to pull you in other directions. And those directions may be good, but it's good to understand like your core value. One thing I would probably add too to the feature list is I think on that calendar page, I think it would be really neat to have and practical to have like another view you could switch into, where instead of organizing it by the pods, it would organize it by the actual date. So today, here's the options that come up, and almost like, because I could see how, because I think the whole idea is you may have two groups. Maybe it's your family wants to have a spaghetti meal today, and then your youth group wants to have a pizza meal, right? And it's the whole idea of the app, right? So almost seeing today, here's my options, and let me actually choose which one I'm going to be in, that I'm going to participate in. So it's very clear. And then I could see the app even, if you say yes to one, it maybe even auto says no to the others on that same day to kind of, clean up that process and that work. But yeah, super cool idea. And I will say, what not everyone may see in the What's for Dinner app is the complexity of their back end. If you kind of look at what they've done, you may start to see it, but I think by far they had the most complex data model in terms of just the pods have, people, and the people can be associated with this and that, multiple pods. And so I do want to give them kudos for that, because I think that was something that you may not, it's not like in the front end where you can very easily see it in a presentation, but the back end and organization that needs to be there for the data was probably more complex than the others, which isn't necessarily like a good or bad thing in and of itself. But I want to give you guys credit for the work that I know was done behind the scenes to make those things work fluidly. So anyway, let's give team 3 a big congrats, and we'll move on to team 4.
Hi guys, so welcome to Project Hatchling. My name is Kenny. I'm here with my teammate, Alicia, Chris, Peter, Jeremy, and Mason. So during this presentation, you'll see intro and background to our mobile app. This is 2 situation slides, followed by a live demo, and then a full version description, project management summary, and final advice and lessons. So Alicia, I'm giving the floor to you.
Sorry, you're on mute, Alicia.
Hello, I'm Alicia from Team Hatchling. So today you will learn who we are and what we do. So let's get started. Team Hatchling created an app that will benefit students in keeping a balance among various aspects of their lives. So needs will vary from student to student, as they will have the capacity to customize and arrange them. Students in middle school or high school or even at a university level are facing an increase in screen time. This is also coming with lack of productivity, time management, and overall decline in motivation, resulting in information overflow. Information overflow occurs when a person is exposed to more than information that they can process at one time. So you can see here figure 1 depicting the emotional state of one undergoing information overflow. So the solution is detox with the features of our app. Users can utilize this app to combat procrastination, distractions, and of course, information overflow. Next, please.
So overall, our app's purpose has 2 main features. So the first, task creation. The persona, obviously, it's for the app user. And then so our CBI would be users want to be able to easily keep track of assignments that they have due at every given week. So the reason for this is users need a simple way to add tasks to the app to keep track of due dates easily. Because like sometimes you might have like 5 classes and like an assignment, 2 assignments, 3 assignments due in one day. Through this app, they could easily be able to keep track of it and see the due dates and so on and so forth. So the specific capability is the ability to create tasks, assign due dates, and get notifications when the assignment is getting close to the due date. And then the delta would be time and stress is saved on being able to simply keep track of all tasks and due dates through one app. So, and then the second main part of our app is the focus aspect. Again, the persona is for the app user and the CBI. So users need an incentive to focus more on tasks and get distracted by the phone. Like everyone falls through this problem. You'll be typing on the computer, you get a text on your phone, and then boom, you hop off your laptop or whatever, you waste time and you go on the phone. With our app, users need an excuse to stay off the phone and study. So through our app, we give them a reward for not touching their phone. So the app's ability is to keep track if the user is not on the phone. So if the user is not on the phone, a countdown will start, which then will allow a creature to be earned once the time hits 0. And then finally, the delta for the focus, users stay focused on the task at hand and at the same time get rewarded for staying off the phone, and then they'll unlock a creature. So yeah, so now I'm gonna hand it over to Kenny for him to do the live demo.
Hi guys, so at the time of this app's creation, we're in the midst of a global pandemic, and which is not, like Alicia mentioned, it has not only waged war on our immune system, but also our productivity. So it's our intention to help the students, especially young students, high school, college age students, to better plan, focus, and be rewarded for that. So I'll showcase this app in that order. But before I dive into that, I would like to show the sign in and sign up function. For the sake of this demonstration, we're assuming that we've already signed up. So here, let's enter an email that's already been signed up, and then just the password, sign in. So in order for you to navigate within this app, make sure that you're in this menu. So with that being said, let's dive into the plan, focus, and the reward part. So in order for you to plan, tap plan, and you get to create a task in here. So final exam, and tap the plus button, And then now if you want to focus, you can tap that task and it'll direct you to a timer. And select the time you think that is needed for this task. And then press start. You'll see egg hatching in the process. We won't let the timer go down for the sake of this demo, but at the end of the timer, you should be able to see creatures added to your inventory. Now, if you want to focus without adding the task, you can do that as well. The process is similar to what I've just described. Now, if you want to see other functions within this app, you can go to extras, which if you want to see the profile, here's the profile. It can direct you to the inventory. If you want to see the store, you can buy more creatures, and then you can actually get to hatch them. A similar process that I've described. You can see the setting if you want to see the setting, see the about, see the FAQ, and finally log out of this app. And I'm giving the floor to Jeremy.
All right, so our full version description. So in the following, so that's our MVP. It includes the focus part as well as the planning part. So again, we wanted just to have the ability for users to create tasks that they can have all laid out in front of them so that they can focus on them with the timer portion of the app. And the incentive to focus on them would be to unlock the little hatchling creatures. But in the future, what we wanted to add are mini games for earning a in-game currency, which we can use to buy hatchlings that we want to hatch. So in the store, if you want to unlock the little chef or like hatch the chef, you'd be able to buy it with that currency. We also wanted to create a way of sharing those hatchlings through social media or iMessage stickers or GIFs, which creates even more incentive to unlock them in-app purchases, which is buying coins or in-game currency. A friend feature so that you can connect with your friends and see how many hatchlings that they unlocked and see their whole collection. And finally, we wanted to add a Canvas integration for students, which for all students who are using the educational website, Canvas, it'll automatically import their tasks for them into the planning feature of the app.
All right, hello everyone. I'll be discussing our project management summary, and that includes some interesting analysis and a breakdown of our work this semester. So we determined by our skill level and experience that maybe an appropriate hourly rate for our work would be $30 an hour, right? So our estimated hours of work this semester was about, when we started planning it out on Gantt, was about 388 hours. But I guess we got close to that. We got actually about 385 hours completed. So 39% of those hours, which is roughly 150 hours, were spent on back-end development. And then 61% of those 385 hours, which is roughly 235 hours, was spent on front-end development and other things. To go deeper into the front-end development, 140 of the 235 hours we spent on front-end were on styling. And then 95 of the 235 hours were spent on features and navigation. So if we're taking we were working on this project for compensation, we thought $30, like I said, would be appropriate, which would give us an estimated initial cost of $11,640 per person, or about $70,000 in total, because of 6 people times $30 an hour times 388 hours. But our actual cost would be about a little bit cheaper, would be $11,540 per person, or a total of $69,300. because of 6 people, $30 an hour, and 385 hours worked.
Hello, I'm Christopher Jones, and I'll be going over the closing remarks and advice. To begin, just be careful not to procrastinate with your work, as oftentimes when you do that, it ends up piling up. And at the same time, remember though to take breaks and not overwork yourself. Be happy, or I mean, I'm sorry, don't be afraid to seek help from the mentors or advisors, as they're more experienced than us and definitely can offer insight to things that we might not understand. But at the same time, make sure to use all of the resources that are already available to you, such as npm.js, as well as Stack Overflow, which both are great tools for finding answers to that question is why is my React Native screen filled with red text? And a lot of times these sites will be able to walk you through and help you fix any of those issues that you may be having. And next, communication is key. Be there for your team, and your team will be there for you. And finally, find out what you're passionate about and use the skills that God gave you to make impactful contributions to your team. And for our closing remarks and lessons learned, the difficulties and lessons learned we feel were one, the Canvas API. We did not anticipate how hard it would actually be implementing it, and realistically, it wasn't feasible given our MVP to have it done in the amount of time that we were allotted. As well as the navigation, finding the correct libraries and how to get each team member's code to talk to each other's was definitely a challenge. And last but not least, prioritization. Prioritizing our tasks definitely could have helped us save a lot of time, ensuring that an equal amount of work was completed on both the front end as well as the back end of the development. Because from Mason's slide, as you could tell, there was 61% of the time spent on the front end, where only 39% of the time was spent on the back end. But all in all, I think that we all worked very hard and created a beautiful app. So thank you for watching. Any questions or comments?
All right, good job, Team 4. All right, so let's open it up for a few questions, comments, or feedback from the audience.
In the final slide, you were mentioning to avoid procrastination and stay focused. Did you guys use your own app as part of this or other coursework?
Unfortunately, while developing the app, you have to have the app open, which is a screen. So it's kind of counterintuitive, I guess. We're creating an app to help you stay off of apps. So it's a little bit of an oxymoron as a developer as well developing this app. But I don't know about the rest of the team members, but I wasn't able to actually have a chance to sit down and test it with my other classes. But that is a very good question. Thank you for asking.
So to answer you, no, we did not have the privilege of using our own app.
Of course, I'd love to, like, once if we further develop this into like a full version, because I feel like it could be useful, and I've always wanted an app that can do that for me personally.
Well, I think it's a really interesting idea, and it makes me think about the whole general principle of time management and motivation. And you're trying to do that with some creative ways. And what would be the incentive that would motivate or demotivate people to do certain things, and maybe having it so it could be customizable, that you get different perks, points. I know you had different ways of what you were representing and what that would be, but what can you redeem that as? Even like thinking of the other app is like you have like this meal app, and so you earn enough points and you can do some more of these activities or something like that. So there's a lot of things that are getting into that area. You have a wristband that tells you if you've been sitting down too long, and now you're talking about usage of your phone and stuff. So I think there could be some interesting markets and ecosystems that you're starting to be part of. And I'd be curious to see what you guys want to do in the future, or maybe just sticking out on the App Store and see where it might go.
Thank you. Thank you for the
I
entry.
agree. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Hi, this is Montreal again. I'm sure my name just popped up. I don't know why I keep saying that. So I've seen like these kind of apps before, and they're really cool. They work for me sometimes, but I always end up somehow back on Twitter. I don't know. But one of the things I thought was cool was in your full versions. You guys want to do a Canvas integration. I think that alone is the biggest differentiator for this app and like all the others like Forest, Bunny, uh I don't know, there's a bunch of like these kind of like grow a thing or hatch a thing kind of things. But I think like that Canvas integration is super cool and super like I would say almost necessary, especially for students, because it's one thing to like have to create a task and then set a custom timer for it, but it's a whole different animal to just open the app and all of your assignments from every one of your classes is already there. I know we do some custom stuff here at APU with Canvas, but yeah, that would be. I think maybe not necessarily in the MVP, but I think it would have been really nice to see what that would look like in the MVP, because I think that alone is like the bread and butter of Hatchling.
Yeah, I agree. We definitely wanted to try to make it into and it was in our sprint cycle. However, the actual API is like a whole other beast that we just weren't anticipating the time for. But I completely agree. Canvas in our app eventually will be a game changer. Thank you.
Yeah, I completely agree too. I think that would be a cool idea. And I also would recommend maybe considering integrating with Trello if you could, because they do a lot of group management. So if you could put tasks on Trello and then import it into your app and then assign the times, I think that would be pretty cool. I had a bit of a concern with trying to implement the mini games in your full app version. I think that might be counterintuitive because gaming addiction is real. So it might take away from focusing on whatever it is you're supposed to be focusing on.
Yeah, I think the original idea about the game is to reward them after they've focused for 30 minutes, so they can only have the access to the games once they have finished a significant amount of work. I think that was the intention. Yeah, but thank you. Yeah, it was very insightful. Trello. Yeah, we'll if we ever do, we will do that.
Curious, Nate's got a question here, I think. But while
Yeah,
he's
just
asking,
sorry.
While he's asking, I wonder if one of you guys can pull up your graphic with all the different like graphic hatchlings you guys have actually created, because I think that's one of like really cool work that you guys have done. It's really unique. So maybe someone can load that up and show us in a minute, and then Nate's got a question.
I think Jeremy can do that for us.
So my thought was, I'm not sure if someone mentioned this because I wanted to read to see how feasible it was, but it'd be cool if you implemented the Team Gantt API to your application, because it looks like I just discovered it exists, and through that you could even utilize Slack, Trello, Dropbox, Zapier, and like a bunch of other things in tandem. So I just thought that was super duper interesting and could be like huge for your application, especially considering we've used Team Gantt for quite a while now, so just a crumb of thoughts for you.
All right, can everyone see this?
That's really cool.
These are our hatchlings.
Share with us a little bit.
So I mean, over the past semester, I was kind of put in charge of graphics and stuff. So our very first concept in our prototype, we came up with this guy. His name is Mr. Mustang. And he kind of set the tone for the rest of them. And so using that visual style, we kind of developed a bunch of little characters, little hatchlings that are going to be added to the app. Different like personalities, as you can see in the type treatments. Yeah, I've really enjoyed creating these, and I think they look pretty cool.
Yeah, and so Jeremy, I believe, I can't remember, I always forget, you're a double major or are you a major?
Yeah, I'm a graphic design CIS double major.
Yeah, so this is a passion of his. And I believe one of the ideas was that some of these would be more rare than others, right? So
Yeah, so under the like on the right side, you have the more rare ones. The higher the numbers, the higher the rarity, and then on the left are the ones that you'll probably receive duplicates of, which kind of gives you a little dopamine boost when you're hatching, because you're not going to know what you're going to get until you finish your work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
I had a random question about like the design thing. Where did you find those fonts for each name?
Some of them I hand created, and some were there's a I don't know, I've just collected over the years from like I don't know, different specials. I've bought some of them. Yeah, as a designer, it's kind of common for people just to have really big font libraries. And,
Yeah, they look sweet.
Yeah, thank you.
So I have another question. I'm sorry that it's another sort of API integration question, but I wanted to just address. So you guys were planning to implement Canvas. Of course, you guys didn't get that sort of finished up, but do you think you guys would have, if you had managed that, you would have wanted to try and integrate the other Canvas-like programs that different schools might use, so you aren't limiting your user base to only schools that use Canvas? Like you could integrate, I think Blackboard is another really popular one. Was that a plan that you guys had, like in a pipe dream anywhere at some point down the road?
Yes, I think the sky is the limit, as we always try to have ambitions. Yes, but Alicia wanted to share. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say we did have that plan because we did discuss that Cal Poly is on Blackboard, Citrus was on Canvas, and different high schools use different things. So we were thinking to stick to Canvas first, just because that's just the most popular thing. And most schools are right now transferring from their old platforms to Canvas, just like APU with Sakai to Canvas.
Okay, thank you.
I find that the Blackboard handheld interface is pretty clunky as compared to Canvas. Canvas is so much better. So I think you're definitely going in the right direction. I don't know what Blackboard is going to do, but they really need to work on their mobile app.
This is going to be coming from really out in left field here. So I know I'm going to be talking a little bit about crypto, but something that you could totally like implement, I know this would be really complicated, is even with all of your little hatchlings as they get created, you can maybe link them to the blockchain somehow and create like a little marketplace for those who are have the super rare ones, and you can exchange cryptocurrencies or something for some of those rare ones if people are really trying to collect them all.
I like that idea, Dylan.
So create an APU cryptocurrency. I like it.
Uber bucks.
You know what you could do is create some NFTs.
Cougar coin. Instead of Dogecoin, we can make Cougar coin.
I could prove I did my homework. It's in the blockchain.
Real quick, because I have to go to another meeting. I just wanted to say that I think it's cool that all of you guys, maybe not all of you guys, but probably some of you guys got out of your comfort zones to present. I know a lot of times in technology, we're not always the most outspoken people in the room, let alone able to present our own ideas and concepts in a very structured way, in a very human readable, civilian way. So I just wanted to say, I think you guys all did a good job with that. Although I think Dylan's team might be the best, but that's just because I'm a little biased. And I'm upset that he's leaving us. But yeah, just want to say good job.
All right, so let's give Team 4 a round of applause. All right, so we have 5 minutes left, and I always like to do, I know this is it for our seniors, so I always like to try to do a little senior superlative. So if you remember back to high school, which is a long time for me, you guys not so long, but in the yearbook, sometimes they would have like the best dressed or this or that. So I'm not going to do that, but what I am going to do is based on some of the things we've seen this class, this past semester, some things that are measurable that we can kind of pull out that I just want to kind of congratulate certain individuals and teams for. So best attendance. I remember perfect attendance. I always remember the kid who got perfect attendance in like elementary, like for 6 years. I don't know how it's even possible. Some people did it. Now, granted, I did not take attendance every day. So I may say your name, you're like, I totally skipped like 2 days. And that may have been, but for all the days that I actually did keep attendance, perfect, meaning you were there on time, you were there, goes to Jake Kramer, Dallas Gray, Brandon Hikata, Du Bois Jones, Max Volman, Justin Watson, and Azaria Wilson. So kudos to those individuals. I think as a team, the best attended team was Pickup Game. They had an average attendance of 99.2%. So good job on that. And most of you guys were pretty close behind, 98%, some of the other teams. Let's see what else. The team that seemed to enjoy working together the most, meaning their team feedbacks were the highest, was also Pickup Game, 100%. Maybe they just clicked, or they're one of those, some of those teams who just click the 100%, you know, the 5 out of 5. But for what it's worth, seemed to really enjoy working together. Most effort. So I'm gonna do, you know, one of the interesting things about, you know, doing Team GAN is we can look and see where the hours are put in. So from a team perspective, I would say that the average number of hours per team was 454 hours per team. The highest of that was Pickup Game at 527 hours. So about 75 hours more than the average. So wow. Great work putting in. And then I want to also honor the person on each team who put in the most effort and hours. CubeSat, that was Mark. And Mark, by the way, is #1 in the whole class. I'd see this guy's reports. He'd be reporting like 24 hours each sprint cycle. So Mark put in a whopping 130 hours. I mean, let's take a second and just congratulate Mark for that. I mean, and you can tell by the work you put in there. What does he say? Hey, if I count all the hours, team get through it. And it looks like he maybe even did more. So congrats on that. For Pickup Game, Dylan had 118, and there was a few other in Pickup Game who were pretty closely behind that. What's for Dinner, Max at 115, and Hatchley and Alicia at 95. So great job to all of you guys at really, you know, pushing your teams more by like leading them by example. The last thing I wanted to kind of toss out there is, so we took this MFT quiz last week or 2 weeks ago, or the MFT test, which was the major field test. And I wanted to give a big congrats to the person who scored the highest, which was Kenny. So Kenny, give him a round of applause. He scored a 157. Our scores are from 120 to 157. The max score was actually 200. It's kind of weird. You don't even know what the scores are. The possibles from 120 to 200. So that was the 71st percentile. And then Justin and Mark both did the second and third. They were both above 150 as well. So just wanted to give congrats where it is due. And seriously, to each and every team, great job. You know, I hope you really will think back to where we started even just two hours ago and talking about where you really started in CS470. where you've come from sitting down and me just challenge you to even thinking of a problem and solution, and then getting it to this point where you have a solution, right? You have something where some of you, with a little bit of work, right, could actually put that out in the App Store and actually expect people to use it and enjoy it. So that's a huge accomplishment. And now take a moment to go back to CS120 and 125 when you were like, what is a Boolean variable? What is that word Boolean? And think about how far you've come. So I've been super impressed to see how you guys have progressed over these 4 years. Some of you guys are in my machine learning class and about to present some amazing presentations in 15 minutes. Anyone who wants to sit on Zoom for another 2 hours is welcome to join us for that. But I'm super impressed with the work that you guys are pumping out, and really do think you guys are prepared. I know we have some alumni here in the room. It's fun to see them go out. I know that they have said over and over again how they've been able to go out and are prepared. They feel ready for the companies that they work in. And I know that although you guys may not feel that in your minds right now, once you guys go out there for a few weeks and months, I know that you'll say, oh, wow, I actually was really prepared to go out there. So anyway, so just big congratulations to everyone again. Hope you guys have a wonderful summer. I'll stick around for a minute or two if anyone has any final follow-up questions, but let's give everyone a round of applause again and have a wonderful day to everyone.
May I take a group photo, Dr. Grissom?
Annie's here to take a photo.
Okay, so first students, so CS480 students and professors involved. I'll hide myself. So unhide yourself if you're in the class, please. Ready? Does someone have a screen that can take a pic of all, or that displays all 49, or can display more than 20 students at a time?
I got you, Annie. Just let me pull up the screen capture thing.
Many thanks. I'm gonna hide the non-video participants. I'll do a practice one. I don't have everybody, but it's okay. 3, smile. 3, 2, 1. Got it. And then Dylan can take the full pic. Let me count. 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, now with all the alumni and guests, if you'd like to join our photo, you can unhide yourself, please. Alrighty. Got everybody? 3, 2, 1. One more in case of blinkers. 3, 2, 1. Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Great job. God bless you guys.
See you Friday at the
Dr. Grissom,
reception.
thank you for everything.
Thank you,
this
Dr.
semester.
Grissom.
Appreciate it.
It's been amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Grissom.
Thank you so much, Dr. Grissom.
Grissom and everyone else. You all did wonderful.
Thanks
I
for
love you all.
everything. Yep.
Thank you for everything.
My pleasure.
I have a quick question. Where's the recording going to be?